Hello, this is Chris Pope with Deeper Root Spiritual Ministries. So glad you could join me today. We're still in Deuteronomy, lesson number 10, Deuteronomy 5, 1 through 21. And we're getting into law, the 10 commandments. I love the law. I just do. For me, rules are freedoms. If you follow the rules, you have more freedom. It's not bondage, it's blessing. It's 10 freedoms that I cause them because they help us live such a much better life. And God is so good to us and he gives us parameters to live on. It's just like if we watch a football game or whatever, and we want them to play by the rules. And, if we drive on the road, we want the rules followed. If we go to the bank, we want the bank to follow the rules they're supposed to follow. I mean, everybody has rules. They have commands. They have ways of doing things, which are very acceptable in society and culture, and balance the culture and help culture live as it should live. And I love that. But I know some people don't like rules, but I love rules. Anyway, it's just me. Let's jump into it. Again, New American Standard Bible, edition 2020. And this is Deuteronomy, starting with chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. And it says, Moses summoned all of Israel and said, "Listen, Israel, to the statutes and the ordinances which I speak to you today, to hear, so that you may learn them and be careful to do them. For the Lord your God has a covenant with us at Hebron. And the Lord did not make his covenant with our fathers, but with us. For all who are alive today, for the Lord spoke with you face to face on the mountain in the midst of the fire, while I was standing between the Lord and you at that time, declaring to you the word of the Lord. For you are afraid because of the fire, and you did not want to go up on the mountain, and said," and it's so beautiful. And again, these are the 10 commandments. Now I do something a little different because I like it this way. I actually include verse 6 and 7 in the commandment 1 because I think it's so beautiful. And again, the first 4 commandments are our relationship between us and God. And the last 6 are our relationship between us and all other people. It doesn't matter who's in our life. All people all around the world. It doesn't matter. All people. And so our relationship to God, these are the first 4. Number 1, I do 6 and 7 together. I keep the verses together. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods beside me. So number 1, we get into, he's the one that redeemed us. He's the one that saved us. He's the one that brought us out of slavery of sin, not just slavery of Egypt. And the Christian mindset is to understand you were claimed, you were bought with a price. Remember, in Egypt, the blood was put on the door. That is a symbol of salvation. The death angel came. They went through the Red Sea as doing baptism, coming back out of the Red Sea, just like we do as Christians. There's so many parallels between Old and New Testament. He says, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. I've been set free from the slavery of sin. Now, inside of my heart, God has come in and has divided with his sword my spiritual man from my flesh man. Now they're separate. And now I have freedom of choice. Again, what happens in our spiritual life is we're young lambs from birth all the way up to, when we're 5 to 8 years old. And what happens is our flesh and our spirit man begins to bond together and they become one. And so the spirit and the flesh kind of do what it wants to do. And when we get saved, literally what happens, those are separated by God. God takes a surgical knife and divides them up and separates them. Now we have 2 entities in our life. And we know the spirit man wants to go with God and be with God. And the flesh man wants to go do it its own thing. So we understand that, and that helps us understand what God is doing and how he's doing it. And you shall have no other gods beside me. There's no one else to put on that godship. Now our flesh wants other things on that godship because that's about control and manipulation. In the same way, the demons that are assigned to us want to control our lives. They want to make a God in our lives. But he said, you shall have no other gods before me. There's no one else that you shall put in the place of me. No one else you shall worship, focus on all the time, and serve. You serve me first. You worship me, then you serve me and have a right relationship with me, and it'll affect all your other. And that's why God put himself first. Look, he's got to be first in our lives. And so it says, the second commandment, you shall not make for yourself to carve an image out of any likeness of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or on the water under the earth. And obviously that means the surface of the water, under the water. You shall not worship them nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God. I'm a jealous God, inflicting punishment on the fathers of the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing favor to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. So it's creating an image. Again, I talked about images are things that we create, that we focus on so much they become gods to us. That can be your occupation. That can be your children. That can be a spouse. That can be a parent, a grandparent. Give me anyone. Could be anything in your life that you aspire above God. There's nothing that you're supposed to be creating above God. For he's a jealous God. Look, I'm not going to lead you then. I'm going to let them lead you. I'm going to let yourself, I'm going to let your flesh lead you. And the desires of our flesh are empty. That's why I love Ecclesiastes, a beautiful book. We've done a study on it here, but to realize that the emptiness of fleshliness and following your flesh. But there's a promise in this. It's an interesting promise. Many people point to the next one as a promise, but I love this promise that your God is a jealous God, and he will punish to the third and fourth generation, to your children, the third and fourth generation after you, because you serve that God, you worship that thing, you got hooked on that thing, you chose to go in that direction, and it'll affect generations up to 3 to 4 generations. But God says, so beautiful, he will show favor to 1,000 generations of those who love and keep my commandments. And I'm a result of that. Yes, my dad, my grandparents, my great-grandparents did things that affected me through the line. But now, also way, way back in my lineage, even in, from England and Europe and everywhere else that my ancestry came from, there's blessings of people of God who serve God, who love God, and they've brought blessings into my life because they kept the commandments. And it helps me as an individual now today. To me, that's so beautiful, so wonderful that God not only will curse those to 3 and 4 generations because you're living underneath the boundaries of the covenants or the hooks that are in my family genealogy. Yet my blessing genealogy that comes down through the good ones in my family tree really blessed my life. And it says, number 3, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, nor shall he leave you unpunished for those of you take in vain. Now, I know many people talk about cussing in this. And yes, cussing is a violation of misusing God's name. You should never use God's name. Matter of fact, when I'm watching a movie or a show and they decide to use the Lord's name in vain, I have my power, I have my remote in my hand, and I cut it off and I watch something else. Because to me, I don't want my Lord's name used in vain. And also wasting the name of God. I mean, the Jews were so careful with the name of God, they didn't even speak the name of God. They would be like a scribe writing the name of God would stop where the name of God is to be written, would go wash his clothes, change, come back, write with a brand new pen, write the name of God, and then go back to the whole process again because his name is so valuable. And I think sometimes in the grace-filled church of we are today, we've got to be careful misusing the name of God. Call upon the name of God, and he is holy and he is to be honored above all else. But don't misuse the name of God or don't just throw it around casually. The name of God has great power. And there's great power from what he is and whom he is. Number 4, Again, these are all laws between us and God. And it's our relationship and our respect of God to keep the Sabbath day and treat it holy. For the Lord has commanded you, for 6 days you shall do all your labor and work. But on the seventh day, the Sabbath day, is to the Lord your God. You shall honor the Lord your God and not do any work on it. Let me stop right there just to make sure you don't run past this. This Sabbath day is the day for the Lord. The Jews use Saturday, and that's fine. Christians today use Sunday, and it's a day dedicated to God. I don't do any regular work on that day. That's the crux of it. Whatever I do for my regular work every day, I don't do it on Sunday. Just like for me, because I'm a minister now and I'm online, I don't do podcasts on Sunday. I don't work on podcasts. I don't work on books I write or anything on Sunday. That's my regular job. That's what I get paid by. So I do no regular work. In the same way, when you're dealing with things, when you're looking at any regular work, God said, take 1 day a week off. Now, not only that, because God created and spoke us into existence that way, there have been many psychological studies. There have been many studies of results in workers and workmanship. And we know that people that work 6 days a week is fine. If they take a day away from that job and then they take a whole day off and then they come back the next day, their productivity stays the same. If you violate the words of God, or violate the laws of science, violate everything, because that's the way God made it, that you will diminish productivity by, I think it's 20 to 30% every week you continue on. So if you keep on working all the time, you'll diminish total productivity, weaken it and weaken it and weaken it. You've got to follow what God says. And it says, not only that, you shall not work, not allow anyone to work, not your son, not your daughter, not your male slave, not your female slave, not your ox, not your donkey, not your cattle, not the resident who stays with you, nor male or female slaves. They shall all rest with you. For as you were, remember that you were a slave once in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out of there, that you by a mighty hand and by his outstretched arms. Therefore, the Lord your God has commanded you to celebrate that day. So take a day off. It is a blessing. And to remember, when I was in slavery, when I didn't know Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I was in slavery and bondage to sin. Now that I'm free from sin, I realize the great value of taking a day off. I understand it and I defend that day. I really protect that day. I really honor that day, because that day is very precious to me now, because I need that time with God in worship and focus, but also my physical body needs rest. I need to take a break from what I normally do. I need to take a breath, let my mind, my thoughts, fix themselves. And it's funny now that we have watches and smart watches, smart rings and everything else. And I don't know about you, but in our technology world, it's interesting when I keep on pushing all the time. They'll say you've had a very stressful day today. And, it's interesting on Sunday. It never tells me that, because I do take a true day of rest on Sunday. And I think Sundays are made for Sabbath, for rest. That's what you should do. Number 5, honor your father and mother. Verse 16, honor your father and mother, just as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that your days may be prolonged, that you will do well in your land, which the Lord your God has given you. Honor your father and your mother. Honor, it could mean financially. You have to take care of your parents. That's actually what they did in the Old Testament. Is the oldest child would be given a double portion of inheritance so they could take care of the parent when they got too old to work. That was the part of their job. And, I know in society, especially American society and culture today, because we really don't do that as much. I mean, I remember when my dad passed, he was still working, but when my mom finally passed, she got dementia and I had to take care of everything for her. That was my job. And I honored my parents. I took care of them financially because I should have, because that's my job. I'm an only child. And so to me, honoring your father and mother, and it's very important because there's a blessing in this. It says, so that your days may be prolonged and do well in the land which the Lord your God has given you. So there's two blessings here. If you follow the Lord, you're going to bless 1,000 generations after you. If you honor your father and earthly mother, God will show you blessings in the land which you are, right where you are. God will honor that for you. And again, I say this a lot, but it doesn't matter if you're saved or not. If you honor your parents, God will bless you from that. That's a blessing of God. It doesn't matter what our belief system is, and we act upon it. It's a blessing that we can carry down. Number 6, you shall not, verse 7, you shall not murder. Murder is maliciously taking a life, premeditated. It's proven in a court of law that you on purpose took this person's life. You had intent to take this life. You were driven to take this life. You took this life. You intended to. There was it wasn't accidental at all. It was purposeful. And when that's proven, in the Old Testament, you sacrifice your life, and I think some states even do capital punishment, but you should forgo the rest of your life. If you maliciously take a life, I don't think you should get out of jail at all. I don't think you should ever get out of jail. If it's proven beyond a shadow of doubt, that is a crime that doesn't deserve release, because that is vilely wicked. Now, people can get transformed, changed. I know that, but still, that's a vile crime. Number 7, you shall not commit adultery. Now, we know this is a sexual sin outside of marriage. And it's kind of interesting when people talk about having sex outside of marriage. Marriage covenant is marriage covenant. You're to respect it. You're to honor it. You're to follow it. And it gets into a lot. And, Jesus said, and, people talk about the Old Testament is hard. The New Testament is much harder to follow, because he actually talks about attitudes, thoughts, then actions, where here in the Old Testament it talks about much more actions, but God does, because God's always the same. He keeps to the intent of the heart. We just don't see it as well. But here, do not commit adultery. Do not look upon a woman and lust after her. That happens. And, know where attitudes start, where thoughts start, in justification of those thoughts, and then you act upon them, which is the problem. Number 8, verse 19, you shall not steal. You shall not take what is not yours. You shall not take away from someone else what you do not own. You shall, and it's beautiful how God lines everything up. Number 9, it's real simple. You shall not, verse 20, you shall not get false testimony towards your neighbor. You shall not lie to get your neighbor in trouble or deceive people around your neighbor, or the intent of the lie is to harm someone else. Is really what it means. People get so hung up on lying. It literally means to hurt, to destroy, to do damage to other people. The lie is. What is the intent of the lie? Is it malicious? That's what God is more talking about than anything else. To be honest. And that's very beautiful to me. The last commandment number 10, verse 21, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or desire your neighbor's house, or his field, or his male or female slave, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. You shall not covet. And coveting is tough, because even the rich young ruler who came to Jesus said, what else can I do to inherit eternal life? And God was basically like, don't covet. But he said, I'm real rich, and I like my things, and I like other people's things, and I care more about things than following you, God. So he walked away. Coveting is a very dangerous thing. And I think that's why God put it last too, because it's desire to take what someone else has. And you get so fixated on that, instead of the blessings coming from God to us and being grateful for everything and content with everything God gives us. You're looking at everybody else's. The old saying goes, it's like a neighbor's house and yard. Yeah, they got a yard, and you might get over there and you might take it, you might get it, you might covet it. But when you get there, the grass still has to be cut. There's still problems with it. Nothing's perfect. And just trusting God. But these are great. Again, I call them the 10 freedoms. They're beautiful. Our relationship to God, our relationship to everybody else. Just like the cross, our relationship to God, our relationship to everybody else. It's what we do, and understand that. You know, God loves me, so it gives me power to love you. Just remember, this is Chris Pope. God bless.